All right, good morning. I will do a big tangent, or rather a big detour before coming back to the point of this video, but I promise you it will make sense at some point. So recently, very recently, it was the 30th anniversary of Quake, which was celebrated by John Romero himself playing Quake. So if you don't know, Quake is a first-person shooter that was released 30 years ago. That was one of the foundational one, very influential when it comes to 3D, etc. And I had so on the stream there was the live commentary of Romero, one of the designer, talking about it and like especially the levels and everything he was trying to do in the first few levels, which was super interesting, by the way. But one thing that stuck to me was that, so for context, Quake was released. I don't know if it's the first one after Doom, but basically uh, in the lineage of 3D games, 3D shooter games. You had like Catacomb 3D, you then have Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake. And all of them brought like some innovation to the genre or some improvement on the tech, especially. So first it was like just texture, and then it was way faster, and then it was you could have rooms with various shapes, etc. And then in Quake you could have things like, slopes, for example, which was very new at the time. You couldn't do that before in 3D games. I mean, most of them at least. And you could have, and that's something it blows my mind that it's new that it was new, or that it wasn't like a given. But you could have a room above another room, which was not possible in any other game before, if I remember correctly, if I'm not wrong about it. And I mean, first of all, that sounds like, what? Well, first of all, crazy that you couldn't do that before, but crazy that it's such a big deal. But it was a big deal because when making levels, they were unlocking this possibility really fueled their creativity, especially for making levels. They really, in the first few levels of Quake, you could really see all the different things they were trying to do with this new quote unquote perspective, these new possibilities, making like hidden levels and new architecture that they couldn't do before. Once again, like just slopes, like non-flat terrain was not possible in Doom, and now it was possible. And that seems very small, but because they had so much constraints because they still had a lot of constraints, like they couldn't draw 1,000 enemies at the time, they had to really limit their design to fit the hardware they were working on. They just they put so much creativity and passion into it. And well, first of all, it's very cool to see. It was very, very inspiring for me to watch. But it brought me to another time. For example, when I was doing video games for sometimes, and especially interactive fiction, so visual novel, choice game, etc. And the when I say choice game, I really mean it. It's really just you follow a story and you have a choice, and then you follow it. You click on the choice, and there is consequences or not. And this really, when I was very, very deep into it, was inspiring me so much to create stuff, to imagine a different structure you could have with just this very, very simple technique, this very simple formula to make a game, which is in a sense way more complete, way more constraints than whatever they were working on with Doom. It was just different, but it was more primitive, let's say. And yet it was few. I was thinking about it all the time. I was very obsessed for a few years about that, and I think it's a very cool field in general, interactive fiction. So where I'm going with it, what I'm saying is that in order to, I'm convinced that in order to keep your passion for your craft, so me, for example, right now it's drawing, it's illustration. But whatever you do, I really believe that this is the reason why people say to have constraints, is because it brings you back to the stage where you are allowed to wander, you're allowed to like really get excited about the possibilities you have, because you have restrained yourself so much, because you have so much constraints. you are able to see angles and dimension that were not visible for you before. So I would say, for example, for my illustration, I always use the same canvas size. I always, most of the time, use the same color palette. So that's not a hard constraint. But what I do constrain myself is on the brush size. So my brush, the line work I use, is always the same size, and it has no variation, meaning that on the whole illustration, there is only one brush size for the whole thing. And I kind of developed this a bit artificially. Like I made the choice of, like, I was just frustrated at first with inking. Like, you have to make the swirls to make it look good and make it coherent on the whole illustration. And I was like, oh, what if I just use the same round brush and don't use the pressure at all? And that's how I unlocked and I developed my style this way. But I really still like can't get enough of it because it's so constrained that I always find new ways to, for example, make texture, make details in the distance, because you need to. That's one of my passion when it comes to illustration, is to invoke details. So with the constraint I have, how can I really show the details as I want them to be? And I did some evolution that probably nobody will notice. But well, I've been roughly doing that for the past 2 years or more, and I still, like I said, I can't get enough of it. I still very love this process because it is so constrained, and plus it removes a lot of thinking or like wondering what size should I use for this canvas. I know I will always use the same size for the canvas. I will always use portrait. It's A6 portrait mode in 600 dpi, something A4, sorry, in 600 dpi, something like that. So I always use the same one, whatever software I'm using, etc. And I know exactly what brush size I need to use, like I said. And really, I think it's the key to keep your creativity alive and keep your passion for your craft, is to work with those constraints. So being and I really want to stress about the excitement, because going back to Quake, you could really feel the excitement that they had, like managing to work, for example, with like they had the temple underwater, and you needed to dive into it to be able to get a key, to get a key to unlock something, and you go back to the top, etc. And this is something, now that we don't have any constraints when it comes to game, I mean any constraint, now that there is way less constraints for when it comes to making games, when it comes to the technical part, etc. Like you could really do anything, but I will rant a bit about video games, but you don't see that's the kind of excitement, that kind of creativity nowadays, because well, we don't have enough constraints. That's my opinion, at least, when it comes to the craft that is video games. But I think it's really applies to all form of art, at least all the one I tried. So video games, illustration mostly. And I really believe that it could help you if you need to reanimate the flame when it comes to making your craft and making it your passion. Yeah, so that was my rant. I know it's a bit weird to compare art to Quake, but I really believe that there is an insight there that is very worthwhile, and I hope it will reach the people that need it. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think about it in the comments, or like what kind of constraint are you, if you tried, for example, what kind of constraint are you working with, and what is your field, what is your craft? I will be very interested to know. And yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.